Introduction to Terraform, exercise number 4. For this exercise, we will create a storage account in Azure, and we will use it to store our Terraform state files in a future video. With that, let's begin. So on exercise 4, we create a new file. We're gonna name it main.tf as our custom is. It's going to be our resource. It's going to be Azure rm underscore resource underscore group. The name is entirely up to us. I just name it RG for resource group, but you can name it any way you want it. Requires a name equals, we're gonna use a variable for this, var dot resource underscore group. We need a location, another variable, var dot location. We're gonna add tags for here just to keep everything kind of organized. So I'm gonna make a reference to a locales file that we're gonna create later on this same video. Require underscore tags. Okay, yeah, this is for this one. For this file is fine. So let's create another one, new file. It's going to be our variables .tf. We're going to define our variables. So the first one was resource. Actually, no. Variable, and it's resource underscore group. We can add a description of what it's supposed to be. This section is entirely up to you. I mean, you can build documentation based on this and do stuff like that. And it's optional. I mean, you don't really require a description. I just had it in there. What else? Type. Yeah, this is required. And this one is going to be a string. Great. The next one was location. Variable location. Description. Well, location. You can be more specific in here. Type is going to be string as well. What else do we need from here? Oh, the local, the required tag, the labels. Let me move to create the locales file, and then I'm going to return to the variables. So let's create a new file. New file locales.tf. Just notice that the file itself is called locales, but the way you call it or make a reference to it is a local dot whatever you define it. That's a Terraform convention. So let's start with that file. So it's called locales. That's a Terraform convention. And I'm gonna put in here require tags. That's how I name it. It's just for tags that I'm using it, but you can use it for several other things. So the first one, environment. Notice that the squiggly brackets usually are associated with maps, so that's why you're gonna see in here that kind of a structure. you're gonna see key value. Actually, matter of fact, now that I look at it, I have a typo. It should be an equals. Now we're better. Okay, environment equals bar dot labels, and the key is going to be environment, just to be easier for reading. If you need to go back to your code, it's easier to know what it is. I'm gonna add subscription just because. Bar dot labels, subscription, and market, yeah, bar dot labels. I name it market. That would be the key. So we have, so basically in here we're making so this is a dictionary, I mean a map, which inside has a key value pair, and this value points to another dictionary. It's fine, you can do it that way. Resource group underscore type, bar dot labels, resource group underscore type, and that's it for our locals file. Great. So we go back to our variables and we can proceed. So the next one will be variable labels. Description, tags for resources. I'm gonna name it like that. On type, that one is going to be a map, because we notice it is a map in here. This is just the key reference value. So we continue, and yeah, that's it with this. So far we are kind of done with it, so we might need to add a few things later on. So a new file, it's going to be our terraform.tf bars. Great. This is where we assign the values to our variables. So resource group equals exercise 04, location ES US2. I mean, you can use any wherever is closer to wherever you happen to be. That's probably the best location. It's entirely up to you. You can use a ES US regular, or ES US2, or South Central, I think is another location, or West US. It's entirely up to you, those locations. For this example, I'm going to stick with this one. So notice this is a resource group equals a string, where we have it declared here, and the location equals another string, following the same here, the same specification that we gave it in here. So the next one is going to be labels. Let me see what I have. Yeah, labels. And labels, it is a map. So key value pair. So squiggly brackets for our map. So environment, oops. Equals, I'm just gonna call it development instead of environment. And next time I'm probably gonna use a life cycle or something that makes better correlation. But for now, let's leave it as it is. Development, subscription equals, I don't know, whatever your name is, your subscription. It's just labels that I put in here. You can use something more appropriate in here. My subscription. Oh, market. Yes, that was the other one. Market. US. Yeah. That's my intended market for here. Resource group underscore type. It's going to be, I'm gonna name it application. It's not really an application, it should be storage account. Yeah, probably use storage account instead of application. So storage account makes a little bit more sense. Okay, let's continue. So far we haven't done anything really new in here. We are just rehashing concepts from previous videos. If you are following along. So let's move with the next one. The public IP address, which you have seen before, so nothing too special on that one. I just basically right now I'm just separating everything on a smaller files instead of having one monolithic file. So let me do that. Right click, new file. My underscore public IP dot tf could be my IP, it's fine. So for this one we use data block for that one, and it's HTTP IP underscore address. This second section is entirely up to you, so you can name it whatever, but the module is already provided by Terraform, so it's when we do our Terraform init, we're gonna get that guy. So we're going to go through our URL in order to get our public IP address and add it to our network security groups and stuff like that. So we can restrict the access to the storage account, because you don't want your storage account to be wide open to everybody. That's a bad thing. And the least that you can do is put a firewall restricted by IP. You might need to add a couple more things in order to protect it. But for this example, let's just do a firewall at least, just to give you some level of protection. I can HAC. Yeah, I think I got that right. I can zip, yeah. .com, and that's it for this one. Yeah, there's nothing else that I need to add. So let's go to another file. Still nothing new so far. Providers, something that we already seen before. So this where I've seen it before. Is usually where we store our all main files with the Terraform module that we're going to download when we use Terraform init. This is where you do that. Require providers, squiggly bracket, Azure RM is the one that we need to be able to communicate with the Azure API. Uh, the source is going to be HashiCorp Azure RM. On the version, we are going to go with greater or equal to 2.87. I think they are on 293 or something like that. We'll find out. Maybe we get the latest right now. So yeah, that's for required providers. We need oh yeah, the mandatory section, provider Azure RM and features blog that we need. Well, I can leave it as like that, but I don't like how it looks. Oops. There you go. Yeah. Okay, looks better. Azure RM. Yeah, that looks correct. So I don't know why it's highlighting that. Yeah, that looks perfect. So we have our provider, my public IP, main file with the resource group, variables, Terraform TF bar, locals. Okay, we are finally about to start something new. So let's create the new file where we're actually going to create the storage account. So I'm gonna call it storage underscore account.tf. So everybody knows what is this file about. So resource Azure RM underscore storage underscore account. This name is entirely up to you, this section. So I'm gonna use name it remote underscore state underscore file. So we always require a name. Bar that resource underscore group. That's a good name. You just keep in mind the storage accounts have to be unique across Azure. So you might encounter that error if your storage account is not unique enough. So you might need to add numbers or stuff like that just to differentiate between existing accounts. So that's something to keep in mind when you're naming it. Resource group name. Well, we know what that is. Azure RM rg dot name. The location, we're gonna use rg dot location. So far, nothing special. Account tier. It's gonna be standard. Well, we're gonna use standard for this exercise. You can use premium. Obviously, gives you better performance, but I mean, just for state files, I don't need the top of the top just to get that. Account kind. Gonna use for this one storage v2. Keep in mind that you have a different options depending on your tier. For example, premium has I think a blob, I think so, and a couple extra in there. You need to check the Azure documentation and see which ones you can use, because that would be another. If I try to use a storage v2 on a premium, I will get an error, and that's kind of common if you're not familiar or you didn't check the documentation beforehand. That could happen to you. This is important setting. Allow blob public access? Absolutely not. So false. Oops. False. And nope. We don't want that. We're gonna restrict it by IPs at least. Account replication type. Okay. For this one, you can, you have quite a few of them. I mean, it will depend entirely up to you, or well, the requirements of your business or your company. Like, you want to have a multi-region replication, or you are fine with just local replication. That will be entirely up to you. For this exercise, I'm gonna stick with the local one. I mean, I don't have anything here that is important, but that and here we're gonna introduce something like conditionals on Terraform. Like if you have done like any programming or scripting, you encounter like if, else, elif statements. Basically, this is the equivalent. This is the syntax Terraform uses. So let me just type it out, and then I can read it to you and try to make some sense out of it, because it's not obvious when you see it. It's not really obvious at all. So bar that labels equals environment. So I'm saying if bar labels environment value equals production, then your I haven't defined this variable, so I'm just gonna type it out and I'm gonna define it. Then your account replication type is going to be whatever the value for global maps. And else use the value for an account replication local. So let me finish typing. Replication underscore type local. Yeah, exactly. So let's create those extra variables. Variable account underscore replication underscore type description account replication, the type, of course, is going to be a map. I mean, you can kind of tell what it is based on the way I'm calling the value out in here. Oops, yeah, in here. I mean, you see it is a key value pair. So Terraform TF bars, we need to add that. Account underscore replication type. It's going to be in our dictionary. Okay. So have the key is global. For global is GRS, and for the other one was local. For that one is LRS, in quotes. And those are the two values that I have So let's go back to our storage account. So if the account replication type, if the labels environment matches production, then it's going to use GRS. If not, then it's going to use LRS. This is the else, and this will be like if you're doing bash, then I guess. Let's check the environment. What we have for environment? What is the actual value? Environment development. Okay, cool. So we're gonna use local. Okay, so let's continue. Where is my file? Right here. Let's continue. What else do we need? Oh yeah, mean TLS version. Basically, this one is the for encryption in transit. We're going to use the newest that we can possibly get. So I think it's 1.2 for that one. You can always check on the Azure storage account documentation. I think they mention it in there. Enable HTTPS traffic only. Absolutely, that's the other setting. So that would be true. We want to be as secure as possible, even for this example exercise. I mean, it's nothing formal. I'm gonna delete it later on. I won't be storing anything important, but still security is kind of important. Always try to keep that in mind, and always try to implement security as early as possible in your development process. We're gonna add tags, local that require tags. Okay, that creates our storage account. That should be it for that. Now we're going to limit the access with the storage network rules for the storage account. So Azure RM underscore storage underscore account underscore network rules underscore rules. And I'm gonna name it something pretty similar. Storage underscore network rules. Oops. So storage account ID. Remote file, yeah, that's the one. That ID. We're gonna get the ID when the resource is created. The default action for everybody is going to be deny. IP rules. So we are going to parse just to get chump. We're going to get data that HTTP that IP address that body. If you go to that URL because this information comes from my public IP address, if you go to this one, it will basically return to you your public IP address, the one that you get from your ISP. And yeah, the value is gonna get inserted into here. Bypass. I think I'm gonna do metrics. I have to check those out. Yeah, and Azure services. I gotta check these values. I don't know if they are still valid or not. Well, should fail, right? We'll find out soon. So that's it. We are limiting the access to just my public IP. We're gonna allow metrics just to see performance. In reality, this storage account we don't really care, but I'm just adding them just because. Azure services. What else do we need? Oh yes, of course. We need to create the actual storage container. So that's the place where we are going to store the actual state file. And that container lives inside the Azure storage account. So resource is going to be Azure rm underscore storage underscore container. Remote container, you can just name a container, it's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Name equals, we're gonna use our variables for this. So dollar squiggly bar dot resource underscore group, close the squiggly dash container. How original. Storage account name, well, you know where that comes from. Storage account remote file, that name. Yep, that's the one. And it's basically from here, this name. That's the name that we're gonna get in here. Line number 2. What else do we need? Containers access type. Yeah, that's important. We're going to restrict it to private. Yes. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, that should be it for it. Yes, that's it. So let's run our, let's save them. Save all. Let's see what errors do we get. So Terraform init, our first command as usual. 287, 294 is the latest version. Okay. HashiCorp, okay, it's done with the init. You can see the HTTP provider. That hasn't changed in a while. The version 294, which is the latest that they have. Okay, let's go Terraform validate. Let's see what syntax errors do we have. Yep, it's typing on locals.tf. So go to locals. What line? Oh, right here, line number 5. Labels. And we save all. Why not? Perfect. Validate again. More errors. Account tier is required, but no definition was found. Okay, let's see. Account tier. Oh, access tier. It is account tier, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, another typo. Typos. More typos. So let's save it. Not validate. Well, finally valid. No more syntax errors supposedly. Terraform plan. We're gonna create a plan, and hopefully we won't see any more grammatical errors, right? TF plan. So we're gonna save the output on TF plan. That's what I'm doing in here. Created a TF state right here. Okay, yeah, it shouldn't take that long. I mean, this is fairly quick. I mean, nothing really too much I'm doing here. Okay, well, that's all the stuff that's getting created. So now to perform exactly these actions, run the following command to apply. Terraform apply TF plan. Sure thing. Terraform apply You need the quotes for that. And if everything goes as expected, we should have a brand new storage account with a container, and that's about it. Okay, yep. So it's done, and let's see if we can find them on our portal. Home. Yeah, let me bring this in here. That's my subscription. Oh, I saw exercise 4 in there. Okay, fine. Resource groups. Exercise 4. Yes, we just created that. This is our storage account. Click on that one, and you can see storage v2, local redundant storage. Yes, we specify that as standard. NFS v3 is disabled. Well, yeah, because we are not using blob or anything like that. We're gonna do it later on though. And some other video, we're gonna create a blob storage and attach it to a virtual machine. What else? Oh, containers. yes, there you go. That's our container. And that's it. With that, you can run Terraform destroy. I would recommend you to do that so you save cost. I'm gonna see if I gonna debate if I should keep it or not, because on the next exercise we're gonna make exercise 5. We're gonna make use of this storage account to store our TF file, because right now it's local. It's all local. It's right here actually. See, it's all local right there. So yep, that's it for this video. And well, with that we concluded, and thank you so much and happy terraforming.